Chapter 61 The Magical Use of the Spiritual Eye, please read later. You are listening at NovelFold.audio. Chapter 61 The Wonderful Use of the Eye of the Spirit, please read later. A small storm was set off in the Sea of Spirits, and countless mysterious symbols representing witchcraft appeared in the center of the storm. In the end, these mysterious symbols attracted and combined themselves, and finally formed a stable witchcraft structure. This witchcraft was Chenmu's biggest gain in this simulation. Zero-ring witchcraft, Eye of the Spirit. Chenmu subconsciously used his mental power to evoke the witchcraft structure representing the Eye of the Spirit in the Sea of Spirits. The next moment, an eye that others could not see but Chenmu could sense appeared in front of him. This single eye was like an organ unique to Chenmu. He could perfectly control this eye, which was somewhat similar to his third eye. Chenmu's mind moved, and the next moment this eye that others could not see rushed out of the hotel apartment. Chenmu's mind instantly added scenes outside the room, and the scenes outside seemed to turn into clear and visible pictures that appeared in Chenmu's mind. It was extremely clear, even clearer than Chenmu's direct observation with his eyes. You should know that Chenmu was sitting on the bed in the hotel at this time, but he didn't move at all. That is to say, Chenmu clearly saw the scene outside the room in the room at this time. Of course, the magic of the spiritual eye witchcraft is far more than this. Chenmu, who has the memory of this witchcraft, knows that the spiritual eye witchcraft has other magical uses. Chenmu's mind moved, and the scenery in front of him changed again. No longer just looking at the surface, the internal structures of countless houses and buildings also appeared in Chenmu's mind at this time. Even some pedestrians on the road are no exception. They are like naked in front of Chenmu. Chenmu can even see the internal organs and blood vessels of these people. Ordinary people, this is a knight apprentice. Hey, there is also a quasi-knight. Chenmu can easily see through the realm of pedestrians on the street with the spiritual eye, and the people on the street don't notice it at all. The next moment, Chenmu retracted the spiritual eye. The spiritual eye reappeared in front of Chenmu. Chenmu, who has the spiritual eye, can also do something that others can't do, that is, internal vision. Mind moved, internal organs, flesh, and even thin blood vessels appeared clearly in Chenmu's mind. Chenmu could even see the golden airflow flowing in his body. Looking inward at his body, Chenmu suddenly felt that his spirit seemed a little tired. Mental fatigue rarely occurred after Chenmu became a formal knight, not to mention that Chenmu was already a great knight and a wizard apprentice at this time. Chenmu immediately understood what happened. This should be caused by excessive use of witchcraft, so Chenmu interrupted the spiritual eye witchcraft, and the next moment the spiritual eye suspended in front of him disappeared, and Chenmu's mind returned to calm. It is worthy of being a witchcraft with unlimited potential. The zero-ring level is already so exaggerated. Chenmu sighed slightly in his heart. The power of witchcraft can only be understood by real use. This is a completely different extraordinary road from the knight. This is just a zero-ring witchcraft. You must know that the strongest wizard apprentice can even engrave 9 zero-ring witchcraft in the Sea of Spirit, not to mention the real wizard. There are reasons why countless people want to become wizards no matter what, and powerful strength and unparalleled means are the main reasons. It seems that wizards have no shortcomings except for their weak bodies. This path is like a nearly perfect path. After experiencing the power of witchcraft, Chenmu gently closed his eyes. Preserving the magic not only brought him witchcraft, but also made his meditation method more powerful. Name, Chenmu. Spirit, 2.5. Constitution, 6.8. Knight Realm, Great Knight. Wizard Realm, First Level Wizard Apprentice. Breathing Method, Golden Lion Breathing Method, Perfect. Meditation Method, Black Tower Meditation Method, Proficient 25/800. Knight Skills, Lion Heart / Perfect, Armor Break / Mastery 922/1600, Star Rocket, Mastery 1160/1600, Double Blade / Mastery 1456/1600, Charge Strike, Mastery 322/1600, Explosion, Mastery 140/1600. Witchcraft, Eye of the Spirit, Zero Ring. Number of simulations, 0. The gains from this simulation are undoubtedly great. In addition to engraving the Eye of the Spirit witchcraft in the Spirit Sea, Chenmu's Black Tower meditation method has also reached the proficient level. Chenmu tried to meditate and found that although the speed was still very slow, it was much faster than before. Time passed. Chenmu opened his eyes after meditating for a few hours and exhaled a breath of turbid air. The spiritual eye is combined with the realm of the great night. Chenmu is now very strong. Boy, you are here, your bow has been made, over there. Stepping into James's blacksmith shop again, Chenmu saw the busy old James at a glance. James naturally noticed Chenmu. Just like last time, this time Chenmu came and found that there was still only James in the blacksmith shop. Old James, your business is not doing well. So Chenmu smiled faintly and spoke. James also knew that Chenmu was joking with him, and said, you know nothing, my business is good. Because the business is so good, I have bought everything I should buy, but I recently received a big order. Do you want to help? I will give you some gold coins. Hearing this, Chenmu shook his head. Forget it, I don't know anything about blacksmithing. After that, he walked towards the place where the longbow was made. The longbow was placed on a bow stand by James, and there was only one longbow on the huge bow stand. Good bow. The longbow came into view. Chenmu was amazed, and stroked the longbow in front of him with his hand. When his hand touched the bow body, Chenmu could feel a slight coolness. The proportion of the bow body and bowstring is almost perfect. Although Chenmu knows nothing about blacksmithing, he can also see that this bow is definitely a masterpiece among masterpieces. You are lucky. The bow is made of cold and soft iron, and the bowstring is made of wild python tendons. 300 gold coins is definitely a bargain for you. As Chenmu was looking at the longbow, James approached, his tone full of the meaning of your good luck. Wild python. Chenmu was a little surprised. Although he didn't know about cold and soft iron, he was familiar with wild pythons. The strongest of these pythons living in the wilderness can even reach the level of a great knight, which is considered an extremely powerful beast. It's mixed blood, not pure blood. A python tendon is not worth much. What is valuable is my craftsmanship. At this point, old James' tone was a little arrogant. Chenmu nodded. He knew that James must have put in a lot of effort, so he took out 10 gold scrolls from his purse and handed them to James. I didn't expect you to be so rich. James was a little surprised, but he didn't refuse. He put the gold scroll handed to him by Chenmu in a small bag in front of his stomach. Looking at James in front of him, Chenmu suddenly had an idea. The next moment, an eye that James could not detect appeared in front of him. Chenmu's eyes slightly stirred. Good guy. It's actually the Great Knight. Please read more. Chapter 62 Blackwater War Horse and Military City Black Snake City. You are listening at NavelFull.audio. Chapter 62 Blackwater War Horse and Military City Black Snake City. Are you from the Golden Lion family, the youngest son of Earl Golden Lion? In the main office of Snakehead City, a sturdy middle-aged man looked at the young man in front of him and said with a frown, this middle-aged man is Nap Evans, the city lord of Snakehead City. He also has another identity, that is, the biological brother of Earl Lope of Black Snake, and the young man in front of him is naturally Chenmu himself. Chenmu nodded. He naturally had a way to prove his identity. He took out a light golden badge from his arms and handed it to Nap in front of him. Nap took it with some suspicion, rubbed it in his hand and looked it over before handing it back to Chenmu. After a while, Nap nodded and said in confusion, why would your father let you travel around the kingdom so early? Aren't you afraid of something unexpected happening to you? After hearing this, Chenmu understood that it was because he was too young that Nap questioned his identity. This is my father's request. He is not worried about anything happening to me while traveling around the kingdom. Chenmu smiled lightly and spoke. Nap, who understood the meaning in Chenmu's tone, which meant that my father is not worried, so I won't bother you to worry, so he didn't ask any more questions, scratched his head and said, okay, I can tell you the specific location of Black Snake City, but you can't reveal this location to others. Anyway, Chenmu was looking for his brother, not him, and the location of Black Snake City was not a secret in the eyes of the great nobles. What's more, a noble boy, even if he is the son of Earl Golden Lion, Nap doesn't think he can make any waves in Black Snake City, so he lowered his voice and told Chenmu the specific location coordinates of Black Snake City. Chenmu nodded after hearing this and said he would not tell anyone else. In fact, if he didn't have a letter to send, he wouldn't have any interest in Black Snake City. But you need to change your horse. The city defense coefficient of Black Snake City is very high. If a strange horse approaches, it will attack directly. After Nap told Chenmu the location of Black Snake City, he motioned for Chenmu to follow him, so Chenmu nodded and followed Nap, and soon the two of them arrived at a racecourse. This racecourse is not the same as the racecourse where Chenmu kept Huang Lai's horses. This racecourse is behind the city's main office and should be the place where the guards of Snakehead City tame horses on a daily basis. The racecourse is all black horses, and there are almost no horses of other colors. Approaching a black horse, the horse snorted when it saw Chenmu approaching. "Is this a war horse?" Chenmu spoke softly. He didn't know much about horses, he just stayed in books. It's just that the momentum of these horses is very unusual. When you get close, you can clearly feel the atmosphere of the battlefield. Yes, all Blackwater war horses. This kind of war horse is unique to the Blackwater territory. It is somewhat similar to the golden war horses of your Golden Lion family. Nap nodded and said, "A trained war horse has stronger endurance than an ordinary horse and can bear a stronger load. Even if the rider is wearing full armor, the horse can still walk quickly." Chenmu is naturally familiar with the family's golden war horse. The fact that such horses can be compared with the golden war horse is enough to show how good they are. You can choose any one. If you are in a hurry, you can leave the city today. Nap smiled lightly and spoke. After learning Chenmu's identity, his attitude towards Chenmu became much better. The Golden Lion family and the Black Snake family have no interest disputes, so the relationship between the two families has been very good over the years. Good. After wandering around the racecourse, Chenmu chose a horse with darker hair and brighter eyes. The appearance of this horse is better than others, not to mention that it has been verified by Chenmu's spiritual eyes. You have good taste. I usually ride this horse. I didn't expect you to pick it out at a glance. Nap said, looking at Chenmu with a somewhat surprised look. Chenmu didn't expect that he would be picked out by the city lord's horse. Isn't this a little bad? But before he could speak, Nap waved his hand nonchalantly. That's it. I usually don't have many opportunities to ride horses in Snakehead City. The three big suns hanging in the sky set one after another, and the afterglow of the setting sun filled the earth. A horse galloped on a road, its hooves stirring up bursts of dust. A bamboo forest separated to the left and right came into Chenmu's eyes, and Chenmu subconsciously accelerated the speed of the Blackwater horse. Bamboo Snake Forest, passing through here is Black Snake City. The speed of the Blackwater war horse was not slow, and as it passed through the Bamboo Snake Forest, Chenmu's eyes suddenly opened up. However, the scene in front of him gave Chenmu a different kind of emotion in his eyes. It almost made him give up the idea of going to Black Snake City. If it weren't for the fact that it was safe to go to Black Snake City in the simulation, Chenmu might have turned around and left at this time. In front of him was a huge school field, and there were densely packed people on the school field. This is the army. Countless tent-like buildings were erected on this school ground. Countless people wearing thin black armor were training on the school field. What hit him was an aura of iron blood. Thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands. This school ground cannot block the giant city behind it at all. A giant city about the same size as Far East City, an army of 10,000 people, a towering city wall, and hundreds of guards on the city wall. This was the scene in front of Chenmu at this time. Chenmu subconsciously triggered the witchcraft structure in the Sea of Spirit. Zero-ring witchcraft, Eye of Spirit. An eye that no one can see appeared above the parade ground. Most of them are ordinary people, but there are also many knight apprentices and quasi-knights. Even Chenmu found a few formal knights. If these tens of thousands of people surrounded him at this time, Chenmu's choice would be to break through the siege and not to fight, although he is a great knight and a wizard apprentice. But it is undoubtedly a fool's dream for one person to fight against an army of tens of thousands of people. Seeing these people, including using the Eye of Spirit to analyze their realm, all happened in an instant. Stop! Just as Chenmu appeared here, he was stopped by a sharp shout. Who are you? Why are you riding a Blackwater warhorse here? The person who made the sound asked with a cold tone. In fact, if Chenmu hadn't ridden a Blackwater warhorse, they would have launched an attack at this time. After all, it is not an exaggeration to say that Black Snake City is a forbidden area for outsiders. This is the only military city in Blackwater territory, and everything here is a secret. Chenmu cooperated and told the guard in front of him his purpose. Hearing Chenmu's words, the guard in front of him relaxed a little and said, "I will report it. You wait here. You can't enter the city now." Chenmu nodded to show his understanding. Waiting for a while was nothing to him, so Chenmu stopped and began to look at the parade ground and the huge city behind it. After a while, the guard came back, looked at Chenmu and nodded, "Follow me." The guard took Chenmu through the parade ground. Although many people on the parade ground were curious about Chenmu, most of them just looked at him and looked away. "Sir, stop for a moment and put this on. This is what every outsider who comes here has to wear. It's not for you." Near the city gate, the guard stopped and handed Chenmu a black eye mask. It seemed that he was afraid of misunderstanding, so he explained it to Chenmu with a slight apology in his tone. He already knew Chenmu's identity at this time, but rules are rules. Chenmu did not make things difficult for the guards, and took the blindfold. However, he was a little curious in his heart. What secrets did this Black Snake City have that he could not even see? It was the same for him whether he wore the blindfold or not. The guards did not know that he had a third eye, and this eye could see even more clearly than his naked eyes. The next moment, Chenmu put on the blindfold and stepped into the city. At the same time, the spiritual eye was suspended above his head, looking at everything in front of him for him. P.S. Thanks to Shantian Yanlong and Bookfriend 201803326 for the monthly ticket. Please read more. Chapter 66, Violet Wizard Continent. Please read on. You are listening at NovelFold.audio. Chapter 66, Violet Wizard Continent, Seeking for Further Reading. Where is this? Chenmu asked again, his eyes staring closely at Ruth's eyes as he asked, and his spiritual eyes also scanned Ruth's body. "Sir, this is the Colin mining area and the territory of Colin Wizard Academy." Hearing this, Chenmu sighed and shook his head. "You are dishonest. It seems that I can't keep you here. Let's get on our way." After saying that, he pinched Ruth's neck with his right hand, his eyes unwavering. Under the scanning of the spiritual eye, the inside of Ruth's body was clearly imprinted in Chenmu's mind. When a person lies, his or her heart beats faster. This is true for most people. Maybe those wizards could tell lies without leaving any trace, but Russ obviously couldn't. This is like an alternative lie detector, so Chenmu can naturally detect the moment Ruth lies. Ruth's pupils widened and he shook his head crazily. "Give me another chance." Chenmu pretended to think about it, then nodded. "This is your last chance, I hope you can seize it." Ruth nodded crazily as if he had resigned himself to his fate. "Where is this place?" "When it comes to location, it means the whole continent. This is the Violet Wizarding Continent, a second-level wizarding continent in Cape Wanghai. This mining area is the Colin Mining Area, which belongs to the wizarding organization, Natural Church. It is located in the south of the Violet Continent and is surrounded by 6 cities, namely the city of Round Corners, the city of Marigold, and the city of Corinth. There was a flash of shock in Chenmu's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Sure enough, this was no longer the subcontinent he was familiar with, but the real wizarding continent. If Chenmu was just doubtful before, then Chenmu at this moment is completely sure, because under the scanning of his spiritual eyes, he knew that Ruth in front of him was not lying. Although I have never heard of Cape Wanghai and Violet Wizard Continent, but Chenmu understood that this was definitely not the wizarding continent closest to his previous secondary continent. Explain what the level 2 wizarding continent is, and also explain in detail about Jiao Wanghai. There was a hint of doubt in Ruth's eyes, as if he was wondering why the man in front of him even asked him such common-sense questions. Are you going to kill him just because of these common-sense issues? He must have carried it too far. Russ was on the verge of tears, but he still spoke honestly. The second-level wizard continent means that the owner of the continent is a second-level wizard. There are 4 wizard continents in Jiao Wanghai, 3 second-level and 1 third-level. Where is that corner looking at the sea? Where is Cape Wanghai? Hearing this question, Ruth was a little confused. He really didn't know this, so he could only say, "Sir, I really don't know this. I only know that Jiao Wanghai is Jiao Wanghai. It has been called that since ancient times." Chenmu, who had his spiritual eyes open, knew that Ruth in front of him was not lying, so he changed the question. Who is the master of Violet Continent? The owner of the Violet Continent is Master Lyle, the second-level wizard. It is said that he is a person sent by the Pure Yellow Tower to the Violet Continent. As for the more specific information, I don't know. Ruth's tone was very fast. At this moment, he just hoped that after answering these questions, the young man in front of him could spare his life. As for lying, he no longer dared to lie at this moment. Pure Yellow Tower, Chenmu was shocked. This is not the first time this name has appeared. This name appeared once in the simulation a long time ago. For details, please skip to Chapter 32. Yes, the Pure Yellow Tower is famous in the entire wizarding world. It is said that the owner of the tower is a 5th-level great wizard who conquered a plane. There is also a Pure Yellow Tower Academy in the Violet Continent, but it was opened by Lord Lyle Branch. That when he said this, there was enthusiasm and desire in Ruth's eyes. Chenmu nodded and continued to ask questions, from common questions to unpopular questions. Ruth didn't lie about anything he knew and told Chenmu everything, including everything about himself. Any more questions? Ruth looked at Chenmu with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Chenmu shook his head and said it was okay. Russ breathed a sigh of relief, and a trace of resentment flashed in his eyes, but he hid it well, but it was useless no matter how well he hid it, because Chenmu had no intention of letting him go. Gotcha. There was a crisp sound of broken bones, and Ruth's neck was severed by Chenmu. When he died, he didn't expect that Chenmu would dare to actually kill him here, so even if you die, you will not be able to rest in peace. A pair of eyes widened. However, he didn't want to think about it. After asking so many questions, he realized that something was wrong. How could Chenmu still spare his life? Chenmu picked up Ruth's body and walked into the abandoned cave he walked out of before, then he began to walk slowly towards the depths of the mine. Naturally, the body cannot be left where it is. The later the body is discovered, the better it will be for him. Chenmu has no intention of staying in this mine forever, but it is not easy to leave here. This mining area is like a large prison. Unless you are a staff member, it is difficult to leave here, but Chenmu naturally has a way. Chenmu took off Ruth's clothes and put them on himself. No wonder Ruth didn't doubt his identity when he first stepped out of the mine, because his clothes were in tatters. It's even more like an absentee than an absentee. After changing his clothes, Chenmu's body and facial bones moved, and finally he looked like Russ, but if you look closely, you will find that Chenmu's skin is better than Russ's. He and Russ' hair color happened to be golden, so when Chenmu asked Russ at the beginning, he had the idea of changing his identity in his mind. If Russ was alive at this time, he would definitely regret it. It turned out that Chenmu didn't want him to live at the beginning. Even asking questions about him was to better disguise him. Picking up the thorn whip that originally belonged to Russ, Chenmu tried to swing it. The lion heart sword had been lost, and this long whip just happened to be his temporary weapon. Fortunately, the most important space key was still in his spiritual sea. If the space key was lost, Chenmu would really have no place to cry. Chenmu found a deeper mine in the abandoned cave and threw Russ into it, and then collected a large pile of boulders to bury Russ' body. After completely burying the deep pit, Chenmu gently patted the dust off his body and stepped out of the abandoned cave. No one usually comes to this abandoned cave, so Ruth's body may never see the light of day again. After walking out of the abandoned cave, Chenmu looked at the surrounding environment and stopped at the place where Ruth just stopped. Now he can't leave, he needs to wait for an opportunity. The night shift change may be a good opportunity. It's time to test your acting skills. Please read. Chapter 67 Leaving the Mining Area. Please read on. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 67 Leaving the Mining Area. Please read on. Colin Mine, South Mine. The entire Colin Mine is a private property of the Wizard Organization, Nature Church. The rare mineral mica ore produced here is very expensive. There are hundreds of mines in the South Mine alone, and the person in charge of the South Mine is a second-level wizard apprentice of the Nature Church, and Ruth, disguised as Chenmu, is also a member of the Nature Church, but just an inconspicuous peripheral member. On this continent, formal knights are not much better than ordinary people, so after Ruth joined this wizard organization as a peripheral member, he was not taken seriously. but was assigned by the organization to the Colin mine as a supervisor. This is actually very good. With the big tree of the Nature Church behind him, few people dare to mess with him except wizard apprentices. At this time in the restaurant of the South Mine, Chenmu lowered his head and put the food into his mouth, chewing slowly. "Ruth, what's wrong with you? Why do you seem a little different these 2 days? You talk less." Sitting next to Chenmu is a middle-aged man with a big beard named Thor, who has a good relationship with Ruth. Of course, it's just a good relationship. According to Chenmu's memory, although Ruth usually talks a lot, he doesn't have any friends here who can really confide in him. At this time, Thor looked at Chenmu, who was eating in silence, scratched his head and spoke with some doubts. "In the past, Ruth always talked the most, even when eating. Why is it that he seems to have become a different person these 2 days, and doesn't talk much?" Chenmu swallowed the food in his mouth and coughed twice. "My throat has been a little uncomfortable these days. I think it's better to talk less." Chenmu spoke softly, deliberately lowering his voice to make his voice very similar to Ruth's. Thor didn't hear anything wrong, and nodded to show his understanding. It has to be said that Chenmu's talent for disguise is still very good. He has met more than a dozen people in the past few days and has not been found to be wrong. At most, those who are more familiar with him feel that he has become less talkative, but no one cares. After dinner, Chenmu put the plate in the recycling area and walked out of the restaurant. 2 days later, with the help of the spiritual eye and his own observation, he has almost figured out this mining area. Now it is time for him to leave this mining area. "Are you leaving the mining area?" At the record office of the South Mining Area, Male, who is responsible for registering information, said with some confusion. While speaking, he looked at Chenmu in front of him. Chenmu was a little unfamiliar, but he still found Ruth's name in the registration book. Looking at Ruth's name in the book, and then looking at the time marked behind the name, Male said, "You have only been here for half a year. Can you tell me why you want to leave the mining area? Being a supervisor here is a good job. After leaving, the organization will not arrange other jobs for you." Before coming, Chenmu had already prepared a draft in his mind, so he naturally knew what to say, so he said softly, "Lord Marley, I don't think the working environment here is suitable for me. Although I have only been here for half a year, I feel that my health has been declining." While speaking, he also coughed in a unique way. The cough was very severe, and it looked like he almost coughed out his lungs. Seeing that Chenmu did not seem to be faking it, Marley covered his nose in disdain and waved his hand. "Okay, you register to leave the mining area. There are too many people like Chenmu in the Natural Church. They are called peripheral members, but in fact they are just a bunch of unimportant cannon fodder. Arranging work is already a benevolent and worthy of the money. If you want the organization to take care of you all the time, it is naturally impossible, unless you are a formal member. All other peripheral members are treated equally, so after Chenmu leaves, he can go wherever he wants. It has nothing to do with him, but if a formal knight does not have a backer here, it is not easy to survive." "Thank you." Chenmu nodded and said, it's not that he didn't think about staying in the mining area for a while, but he is not the real Russ after all. If he is really exposed one day, he won't be able to run away, so the best plan is to leave here. After all, he has no shortage of magic stones, and he can find a good place even after leaving here, and this is the wizard continent, and his simulator can play a big role. Now he is a great knight and a wizard apprentice, and even if he finds other organizations to join, he will not be just a peripheral member. But Chenmu has no such idea for the time being, and what he has to do now is to stay for a while. After registering, Chenmu left the mining area smoothly. There was no inexplicable provocation, and no one deliberately made things difficult for him. After leaving the mining area, Chenmu faced another problem, that is, he was unfamiliar with the place. Where should he go? Fortunately, the Colin mining area is not too far from Colin City, and Chenmu also found out the specific location of Colin City from Ruth. He can settle down in Colin City first, and then make plans for the next step. As time passed, Chenmu arrived at Colin City smoothly according to the route provided by Ruth. Colin City is worthy of being a city on the Wizard Continent, and Far East City is far from being comparable to it. The huge and towering city walls give people an extremely magnificent feeling just standing there. After paying the entry fee, Chenmu entered the city. There is a lot of space in the city, and the smooth roads are extremely clean and tidy, with no garbage or foreign objects visible. Chenmu didn't attract anyone's attention after entering the city dressed in this outfit. The flow of people in Colin City is very large, and no one will pay attention to an extremely ordinary person. Chenmu had no plans to go to the natural church stronghold anymore, but found a large shop and walked in. Entering the shop, a maid hurriedly greeted him. "Is there anyone selling maps here?" "Yes, you come with me." Chenmu followed the maid, not forgetting to observe the surrounding environment with his eyes. The store is big and there are many people there. There was quite a bit of noise and it seemed like it was quite lively here. "Look, these are all maps. Just tell me which one you need." Chenmu took the stack of drawings handed over by the maid and glanced at them casually. "Is there a map of the entire continent or the entire south?" Chenmu looked through these maps and found that they were all small maps, and the largest one covered several surrounding cities. "Large maps are sold on the second floor. I'll take you there." When they got to the second floor, the maid leaned over and whispered a few words into the ear of a person on the second floor. The man nodded and walked towards Chenmu. "Hello, I'm sorry, the largest map we have here only covers the southern half. As for the maps of the entire continent and the entire south, we are not selling them here." The man's tone was apologetic. "Then just prepare me the largest map you sell here. By the way, is there a better knight's sword? I want to buy one." Chenmu nodded and spoke again. "Yes, please wait a moment and I will bring it to you. P.S. Thank you Mason for 2 monthly passes and Little Piggy 2020 for 1 monthly pass. Please read. Chapter 68, Jinzhan City and the Found Corpse, please read. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 68 Jinzhan City and the Found Corpse, please read. After buying things in the store, Chenmu did not choose to stay in Colin City for a long time. After all, this city is the territory of the Nature Church, and is also very close to the Colin mining area. Once Russ's body is found, the first person to be suspected is him, the person pretending to be Russ. Although Chenmu believes that he handled the body well, it is inevitable that some evidence may be left. Ordinary people may not be able to find him with just a corpse, but the person in charge of the South mining area is a second-level wizard apprentice after all. Who knows if there are any means that Chenmu does not know, so for his own safety, Chenmu did not choose to stay in Colin City, but he chose to take a caravan to Jinzhan City. After paying 2 magic stones, the caravan was happy to take Chenmu to Jinzhan City. It was dozens of days after Chenmu arrived in Jinzhan City. Jinzhan City is closer to the central area of the southern continent. This city is quite prosperous, and there are even many small wizard organizations and wizard academies in the city. Chenmu found a hotel in the city and lived there first. Although the Violet Continent is not completely unfamiliar to Chenmu, this Jinzhan City is indeed very unfamiliar to him. In the next few days, he will first find out the distribution of forces in Jinzhan City, and then make plans. This is no longer the previous secondary continent, and the Great Knight is not the strongest group of people here. There are more than 1 or 2 people who are stronger than the Great Knight here, so Chenmu must be steady in every step, and the main goal is to stay alive. At least before getting familiar with this city, Chenmu will not have any intersection with anyone. Fortunately, the new simulation number will come in a few days. This simulation directly opened in the Wizard Continent may bring him a lot of gains. It must be said that Chenmu's worry is not unreasonable, because just a dozen days after he left Colin Mine, South Mining Area. "Sir, this batch of mica ore has all been shipped to the organization. Compared with the amount of ore mined last quarter, the amount of ore mined has increased a lot," Malai said flatteringly, and handed the registration form in his hand to the white-robed man in front of him. The white-robed man, the second-level wizard apprentice Ika, took the form and glanced at it, and nodded. Malai could not have falsely reported the amount of ore, so he just checked it casually. After the inspection, Ika did not speak, and motioned Malai to follow him. Next, he needs to inspect the entire South mining area. Every quarter, the wizard apprentice in charge of the mining area must conduct routine inspections, but for Ika, this kind of thing is nothing. After all, few people will cause trouble in the Colin mining area, and everyone knows that this is the territory of the Nature Church. Now he just wants to inspect the mining area casually, deal with it, and leave here. He feels that the air here is dirty. as a genius with second-class wizard qualifications. Coming here is a waste of his precious time to practice meditation, passing through the mines one by one. Ika did not stop. Marley followed Ika closely. Finally, when passing by an abandoned mine, Ika stopped and exclaimed. "Is there anyone mining this mine now?" Ika spoke softly. This was the first sentence he said after coming here. Marley quickly turned his eyes to the mine Ika was referring to. After taking a look, he shook his head and said, "Sir, this is an abandoned mine. No one is mining it now." "Abandoned mine?" Ika chuckled and motioned Marley to follow him, and he stepped into the abandoned mine first. Although Marley was a little confused, he still followed Ika silently. After entering the abandoned mine, Ika frowned slightly and covered his mouth and nose. Zero-ring witchcraft cleaning spell. A cleaning spell was cast by Ika, and the dust in the mine disappeared instantly, becoming extremely clean. Marley had seen the wizard's tricks, so he was not surprised. "Move these stones away." Walking to the depths of the abandoned mine, Ika stopped and said, there were only 2 people here, so Marley knew that this was for him, so he did not hesitate, and the white airflow wrapped around his 2 arms, and these boulders were moved away like foam. Before all the boulders were moved away, Marley smelled a bloody smell. His face changed slightly, and he sped up. In less than a moment, all the boulders were moved away. "This body," Marley murmured, his voice trembling, and a few cold sweats appeared on his forehead. "You know, all the miners and supervisors in the mine area are registered. How could there be an extra body inexplicably?" And he was the only one in the entire South Mine who was responsible for registering these things. No wizard apprentice was willing to do this slightly important job, and the formal knight was not qualified. So it naturally fell on him, who was already a great knight. He was sure that what he registered was correct, and he had just shown it to Ika, but this scene at this moment made him doubt himself. This was a real extra body, as if it appeared out of thin air. Marley moved the body out and laid it flat on the ground, looking at the face of the body. Then he found that the face of the body was already bloody and it was completely unrecognizable. "Explain it." Ika spoke softly, as if he had no emotions, but Marley understood that this was a manifestation of Ika's anger, because he delayed Ika's precious time. Marley's mind was in a mess, trying to think of a reasonable explanation, but the more he thought, the harder it was. Seeing that Marley didn't speak, Ika looked away and looked at the body on the ground in front of him. At this moment, Marley suddenly remembered something and exclaimed. "I remember, but how could he die here?" Although the face of the corpse was blurry, Marley still felt a sense of familiarity. The sudden flash of inspiration just now reminded him of this person. "Do you know this person?" "This person seems to be a peripheral member of the organization. He was a supervisor in the mine before, but he left the mine a few days ago because he was unwell." "Russ, yes, his name is Russ." Marley thought about it again and spoke with certainty. This person was registered by himself, and it has only been a few days, so Marley naturally has an impression of him. But the reason why Marley frowned and puzzled was that he clearly saw Russ leave. But why did he die in an abandoned mine in the end? Could it be someone else pretending to be him? Ika spoke up. He usually didn't stay in the mine, so he didn't know how detailed the registration of absenteeism and supervisors was, but it was this sentence that broke Marley's inherent thoughts. Someone else pretending to be him. Marley carefully observed the bloody corpse in front of him again. He came to a conclusion. The Russ who had left the mine was fake. Seeking to read. Chapter 69 Simulation and Improvement. Please read on. You are listening at NavelFold.audio. Chapter 69 Simulation and Enhancement. Seeking for further reading. Chen Mu, who was already in Jinzhan City, naturally didn't know that someone far away in the Colin mining area had discovered that his identity was wrong, but even if Chen Mu knew it, he wouldn't care, because at this time he had a new look and a new name. When walking outdoors, a vest is indispensable. In the past few days, Chen Mu spent most of his time in the hotel and spent very little time outside, but after today, maybe Chen Mu can leave the hotel and explore the entire Jinzhan city to his heart's content. In the hotel room, Chen Mu sat cross-legged on the bed, searched TWKAN on Google. The next moment, a transparent light blue light screen panel suddenly appeared in front of him. Chen Mu ignored everything else and focused on the number of simulations column. Number of simulations, 1. The new number of simulations has been put in place, and this simulation is undoubtedly very important to Chenmu, so Chen Mu didn't hesitate and thought about it. The 10 magic stones prepared in front of him slowly disappeared, strings of black characters began to appear, and Chenmu also concentrated on it. Life simulation has been started. Because the simulator version is too low, only text simulation is supported. 18 years old, after you woke up, you found that you were in the wizarding continent. You left the mining area and came to Jinzhan city. You practiced meditation silently. You were also extremely low-key on weekdays. No one noticed you, an outsider. 19 years old, you gradually become familiar with everything in the city and integrate into it. After living here for a year, you have become no stranger to this place. 20 years old, a person seems extremely small in this huge city, and cannot learn witchcraft and knowledge, so you decide to join a wizard organization, even if you only become a peripheral member. 21 years old, after asking around, you finally chose to join the White Rose School. This is an academic wizarding organization, but it is different from a real academy because this school recruits peripheral personnel. 22 years old, your cultivation as a great knight and a first-level wizard apprentice has earned you the appreciation of Ms. Lays, a high-ranking member of the school, and she has taken you on as her subordinate. 25 years old, continuously practice meditation. The magic stone is used by you to buy magic potions to speed up the progress of meditation. 27 years old, in 5 years, you have become a senior member of the peripheral members of the White Rose School. You have completed many tasks of the school, and you have won the respect of Ms. Rice. 32 years old, you have officially become an insider of the school and a student of the White Rose School. The school's system is extremely strict and is divided from bottom to top into students, bachelors, and sect leaders. 35 years old, after becoming a real student, you have successfully learned several useful witchcraft, but you have not given up on your meditation practice. 40 years old, when practicing meditation, you are very indifferent and don't care about rights and enjoyment. Your daily life is between the apartment and the library. You spend a lot of time practicing meditation every day, and your spiritual C is steadily improving. 44 years old, the conflict between the White Rose School and the Natural Church broke out, and you also participated in this conflict. 45 years old, during a mission, the strength of the mission target was misjudged. You died, under the witchcraft of a second-level wizard apprentice. The simulation is over, please choose your reward. Keep realm or keep spell. Preserve the realm. Chenmu chose to retain the realm without hesitation. If he retains the spells, he can indeed learn several witchcraft instantly, but these zero-level witchcraft are better than nothing for him at present. What he should do now is to focus on his realm. If he becomes a second-level wizard apprentice, he will have considerable security even in the wizard continent. Chenmu thought so. And naturally he did the same. With the thoughts in his mind, there was a huge turmoil in the spiritual sea. The original spiritual sea quickly expanded in a circle at a speed visible to the naked eye, and Chenmu could clearly feel the changes in his mental power. If he could have 3 zero-ring witchcraft engraved in his spiritual sea before, then he could have 5 engraved in his spiritual sea now. In other words, he has reached the pinnacle of the first-level wizard apprenticeship. It's just that this peak is a bit illusory. If you want to truly become a second-level wizard apprentice, you still have a long way to go. This is the benefit of being in the wizarding continent. If Chenmu had been practicing in the subcontinent, if he wanted to advance to this level, it might take several times as much time as practicing in the wizarding continent. Moreover, in the simulation, I was using magic potions to practice meditation. It would be difficult for me to buy useful magic potions if I were from a subcontinent. Of course, you can also practice directly with magic stones, but this method of practice is not good. Magic stones are the currency among wizards, and they can also be used as a spiritual resource. It's just that this kind of cultivation resource has advantages and disadvantages. Because the magic stone is not without any impurities, most of the time, magic stones are used as a material for making magic weapons and mixing potions. Few people will directly use magic stones for practice. Moreover, the effect of using magic stones to practice meditation is definitely far less than that of finished magic potions. This is why Chenmu has not used magic stones to practice these days. Of course, in the simulation, there is no such concern. The simulator brings him an improvement in his realm without any side effects. Chenmu was very satisfied with this simulation. If he continued at this speed, he would most likely become a second-level wizard apprentice before the age of 19. The next moment, Chenmu's mind moved, and the complete attribute panel appeared in front of him. Name, Chenmu. Spirit, 2.9. Constitution, 6.8. Night Realm, Great Knight. Wizard Realm, First-level Wizard Apprentice. Breathing Method, Golden Lion Breathing Method, Perfect. Meditation Method, Black Tower Meditation Method, Proficient 25/800. Night Skills, Lion Heart. Perfect, Armor Break / Mastery 922/1600, Star Rocket, Mastery 1160/1600, Double Blade / Mastery 1456/1600, Charge Strike, Mastery 322/1600, Explosion, Mastery 140/1600. Witchcraft, Eye of the Spirit, 0 ring. Number of simulations, 0, except for the 0.4 increase in spirit. There are no other changes in the panel. Of course, this is definitely a considerable increase, and the numerical attributes should appear to be more obvious. After closing the panel, Chenmu tried to use his mental power to trigger the structure of the spiritual eye witchcraft in his mind, and then found that the improvement of mental power made his witchcraft effect better. This is normal. The stronger the wizard's mental power, the stronger the witchcraft. After digesting all the improved strength, Chenmu got out of bed and pushed open the door of the hotel. Although the simulator improved his mental power, it did not directly teach him the memory of what happened in the simulation, so no matter how well Chenmu in the simulation knows Jinzhan City, he is still unfamiliar with it in reality. The hospital mobile phone code, everyone will just read it, please read it. Chapter 70, Second Level Wizard Apprentice and the White Rose School, please read on. You are listening at NovelFold.audio. Chapter 70, Second Level Wizard Apprentice, and White Rose School, please read on. Time is turning like a gear, and it's already 3 months later. 3 months is enough to change a lot, and it can let a stranger understand a city with a long history. At least now Chenmu believes that he is no longer so unfamiliar with Jinzhan City. In a small apartment on the north street of Jinzhan City, Chenmu slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air. The black font in front of him slowly began to disappear. The next moment, he thought in his heart, keep the magic. As soon as this thought came out, Chenmu's spiritual sea underwent a huge change. Originally, there was only one witchcraft structure suspended in the spiritual sea, and at this moment, 3 more witchcraft structures suddenly appeared. This is the result of Chenmu's deliberate control, otherwise his spiritual sea might have 5 more witchcraft structures in just this moment. Compared to the spiritual sea 3 months ago, Chenmu's spiritual sea is at least 2 or 3 times larger at this time, because he is now a second-level wizard apprentice. The gap between a first-level wizard apprentice and a second-level wizard apprentice is as huge as the gap between an ordinary person and a formal knight. That's right, it's the gap between an ordinary person and a formal knight, not the gap between a quasi-knight and a formal knight. You can imagine how big this gap is. And just from a first-level wizard apprentice to a second-level wizard apprentice, Chenmu consumed 3 simulation opportunities. It took more than 100 years, and he practiced in the wizard continent, to push him from a first-level wizard apprentice to a second-level wizard apprentice. However, the benefits of 3 simulations in 3 months are absolutely indescribable. At this time, Chenmu can easily ravage a big knight just by using the means of wizards. If Chenmu at this time fights with him 3 months ago, then he 3 months ago has no resistance at all. This is a second-level wizard apprentice. What's more, Chenmu is a second-level wizard apprentice with good physical strength. The next moment, the attribute panel that has changed a lot compared to before appeared in front of Chenmu. Name, Chenmu. Spirit, 5.1. Constitution, 6.9. Night Realm. Great Knight. Wizard Realm, second-level wizard apprentice. Breathing Method, Golden Lion Breathing Method, Perfect. Meditation Method, Black Tower Meditation Method, Proficient 612/800. Night Skills, Lion Heart / Perfect, armor break / perfect, star rocket, perfect, double blade / perfect. Witchcraft, eye of the spirit, 0 ring, fireworks, 0 ring, healing, 0 ring, spirit light curtain, 0 ring, dot, number of simulations, 0, spiritual power jumped from 2.9 to 5.1, a full increase of 2.2, which is very exaggerated, because Chenmu chose to focus on the practice of magic in the third simulation. Even the night skills were mostly practiced by Chenmu to the highest level. Of course, the most important thing is the 3 extra 0 ring witchcraft. Among these 3 0 ring witchcraft, fireworks and healing belong to the category of core witchcraft. Among them, the fireworks spell is an attack type 0 ring witchcraft, while the healing spell is an auxiliary witchcraft. The 2 witchcrafts have as many as 18 mysterious symbols that make up the witchcraft structure. The last mental light curtain is a defensive witchcraft, which is also a good witchcraft. Even among the second-level wizard apprentices, Chenmu's witchcraft is now considered high-end. Moreover, after becoming a second-level wizard apprentice, Chenmu's spiritual eye, which he had mastered before, has become more powerful. Not only can it be activated instantly, but the coverage area is also wider, and the speed of feedback to Chenmu is faster. If the use of the spiritual eye witchcraft when he was a first-level wizard apprentice was still a little raw, then at this time, he used this witchcraft as smoothly as if it was lubricated. After digesting the improvement after retaining the spell, Chenmu got up and moved his body. Feeling the powerful force, Chenmu felt that there seemed to be a big stone in his heart. Slowly falling. Before, Chenmu always had an inexplicable sense of urgency, that is, he was worried that he might step into the abyss if he was not careful, because whether it is a first-level wizard apprentice or a great knight, they are too insignificant in this wizard continent. If you offend a second-level wizard apprentice or a stronger person, you may lose your life. The wizards here will not chat and laugh with you. If you offend them, you may face fierce revenge. Chenmu has a deep understanding of this. He can't forget the suffocating feeling when he just crossed over. Most wizards are a group of selfish, self-interested, and profit-oriented people. The stronger you are, the more so. From a small person to a great wizard, you need to go through too much on the way. White Lotus can't become a great wizard. Maybe the wizards of the academic school should be more gentle, but if you really provoke them, then they will only put away their soft smiles and raise the bloody blades. Chenmu never thought that he was a good person. If others provoke him, he will also plan to retaliate. After all, this is no longer the previous life. Chenmu, who has been here for 2 years, understands this very clearly. Putting away his messy thoughts, Chenmu changed into a clean set of clothes and dressed neatly. In addition to the simulation, he had another thing to do today, which was to join a wizard organization. Today is the day for White Rose School, to recruit peripheral members. Chenmu, who has gone through 4 simulations, understands that this wizard organization is the most suitable for him. If you miss this year, you will have to wait until next year. The experience in the simulation and the understanding of Jinzhan City in the past 3 months gave Chenmu the confidence to become a real student of the school in a short period of time. If he can really become a formal student of the school before he turns 20, then he will face a big opportunity. This opportunity is the important reason why Chenmu wants to join the White Rose School. It was also a plan that Chenmu made after 4 simulations. So many people. After arriving at the place where the school recruited peripheral personnel, Chenmu showed a hint of surprise in his eyes. Although he has joined the White Rose School many times in the simulation, this is his first time here in reality. Of course, there are not many people there, but there are probably only a few hundred people. Compared to the number of people in the entire Jinzhan city, the number of people here can be considered very small, but one thing you need to know is that the people here are not ordinary people, and the weakest ones are still in the realm of formal knights. The stronger one has the realm of a great knight. Chenmu, who had released his spiritual eyes, could clearly sense that there were more than a dozen great knights here, including several first-level wizard apprentices. Of course, who is the strongest person in this group who wants to join the White Rose School? Then there is no doubt that it is Chenmu himself. P.S. Thanks to Mike Chow for his monthly ticket. Please read.